From Reseda, returning to the tournament, we have Cobra Kai, 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 Cobra Kai.
Is that going to be the intro to the video?
Yeah, it is. And yeah, we are live.
Oh.
Yeah, I know you guys couldn't see that, but yo, what's going on, everybody? Hypes Watch here again. Don Willie, LT. It is Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat, and today we are talking about Cobra Kai Season 1, the YouTube Red series. And oh boy, I know you guys have some thoughts about this. So real quick, LT, your thoughts on this series before we do the deep dive.
My thing is, when I saw the trailer to this, I was thinking, why didn't they make this a movie? I mean, they could have. And I mean, I guess, it's 10 episodes, but it works. It just works and it's great. And I was like, man, I can't believe they didn't make this a movie, but it works on YouTube Red. I was very pleased with this series, very pleased, and I've watched it 3 times, and I can't wait for more.
For real. Jerry, Mr. Headband himself, your thoughts on Cobra Kai, the series so far?
Well, so far, you mean season 1. All right. Cobra Kai. As an objective, fair observer, I gave this thing about a 6.5, maybe 7. As a Karate Kid fan, I give it a fucking 9 or 9.5. This shit was
awesome.
Yeah, this shit was awesome. Fucking.
Yeah, and
one thing I want. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I love the series so far. I can't wait to see what they do with seasons. Yeah, LT, what were you gonna say?
One thing I want to bring up is okay, so I don't know how it started. There's a video on YouTube where it says Johnny's the true hero of Karate Kid. I don't know if that video came first or if How I Met Your Mother came first. I don't know, because in How I Met Your Mother, the character Barney goes off and says Johnny's the true hero of Karate Kid. So I don't know which one came first, but all I know is they're both the same concept. And I watched How I Met Your Mother a lot, and the guy who plays Johnny was in the show, and so was Ralph Macchio. And that was the only time I ever seen Johnny besides back in the day, besides the Karate Kid movies. But watching this series...
Is he back to school?
No, yeah, but back to school is what I'm saying is since back in the day, nothing like recent. But watching this series, this guy who plays... what's the actor's name that plays Johnny?
William Zepka?
Okay, William Zepka. He was fucking great in this series. And I've been wondering, where has he been? Why hasn't he been in sitcoms and shows and movies? I hope that this brings him back and he's in just movies, because he did a phenomenal job, in my opinion, in this show. And I just hope this show, I don't know, they already ordered season 2, so we know it's success. But I'm just saying, I wish him success, and I'm hoping he's in movies and TV shows and makes a truckload of money. I'm rooting for him.
All right, I want a question I want to ask all of you. Let's get a little bit of background on everyone. What's everyone's Karate Kid fandom background? Let's start with you, Don Willie.
Well, listen, I grew up with the original 3 movies. I've seen Next Karate Kid maybe once. But like, the original Karate Kid, look, I'm a product of the mid to late 80s. I actually did take karate back then, but even before I started taking karate myself, everyone was trying to do the crane kick in my neighborhood. Everyone's talking about sweep the leg. Everyone, like that movie the original had so many quotes. Who didn't love Daniel and Mr. Miyagi? And even to a certain extent, when you think about Johnny supposedly being the bully or the villain, you still felt for him by the end because you realize that uh, even with all of the back and forth that him and Daniel had, he was still gracious enough. He handed him the trophy. He handed him the trophy and was like, "Hey, you deserved it."
You're all right,
And
LaRusso.
yeah, so
You're all right, LaRusso.
yeah, man.
Good match.
Yeah, I love the original Karate Kid. Karate Kid 2 and 3, not so much, but the original Karate Kid is definitely super classic, and I still listen to the soundtrack to this day, every now and then.
Well, what about you, LT? How's your fandom go?
All right, so I'll go with a little story time from LT. I pride myself on having a great memory, but I guess this is not so good memory, but I do remember it. So my stepdad and my mom got in a fight back in the 80s. I don't remember what year it was, but I was real small. And me and my brother got thrown in a foster home because they were in jail. And the foster parents showed us, we were there for like only a few days. It wasn't that long. But, anyways, the foster parents showed us Karate Kid and give us ice cream. And I'll never forget it. The first time I just loved it. And I loved everything about it, like I said, the quotes. And being a little kid in my memory, I just remember the scene where, Daniel's son gets in a fight with Johnny by the beach in the motorcycles. And it's funny when you're a kid, just things like are so different, so much cool. It's still cool now, but I just remember it being so cool. And it's funny because like I know our friend JB, he says a lot of like movies from the 90s and 80s that he today he thinks they're cheesy, but I don't know. It's just things are so much better when you're younger. And I like Don Willie. I think number one is the best of the series, but my favorite is number three. I'm a big Terry Silver fan. That's my favorite character from all the Karate Kids. Number two though is awesome, and yeah, just that's it for now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, me, I'm also, child of the 80s. Watched it as a kid. Don't exactly remember when, but yeah, was one of those kids, loved it, watched all the movies. I remember all the kids, when 3 were coming out, they were doing the, whoa, whoa, shit. And, I ended up tried to take a little bit of karate, although I ended up quitting I wanted to do more baseball, more Little League baseball. But, yeah, I mean, it was great back then. Put it on as an adult, it was still held up. As a kid, I liked them all. As an adult, one is the best. It was directed. All of them were directed by John Avildsen, but who people don't know is was the director for the first Rocky, and I think he brought a lot of that into these Karate Kid movies, especially Daniel being kind of a lot like Rocky, and being an underdog story and stuff like that. Um, yeah, but one was the best. I mean, does is it universally thought that 2 is bad? I like 2 a lot, actually.
I
2, you
I
got
don't
to see
know. I don't know why. Yeah.
the
I don't
chick
know
was
why
like,
people would think it's bad, Jerry. I think number two. I mean, honestly, in every series, usually number one is the best. But
mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, from what I've heard, fans say that three is a copy of one, and that's why it gets a lot of hate. You
Well,
know.
it is a copy of 1, but with like
Yeah.
extra cheese. But you know what?
Yeah.
As bad as 3 is, like if you're trying to take it seriously, it is a bad movie. But the Terry Silver just played it so over the top. He was so funny. Mike Barnes was so funny, making Knuckles bleed, and all that. He's like, I'm done trading stocks. We're in the revenge business. Like, why would this rich guy go and like harass a like 17-year-old kid? I mean, it's
You
crazy.
guys want to? I watched a video recently on true facts of karate or not yeah Karate Kid stuff you might not know, and I couldn't believe this, and I wonder if you guys know this. Did you guys know that in Karate Kid 3, I've never guessed this in a million years. The actor that played Terry Silver was actually a year younger than Ralph Macchio. Could you guys guess that?
No, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
never would have guessed that.
Yeah, I
but let's get
mean,
back to
Yeah,
Cobra
because
Kai
Ralph
now.
Macchio
So,
just looks super young, but
yeah. Well, actually, what's his name? Johnny is a few years younger than him too. He was like 3 years younger than him.
Oh, real quick before we get into what you're going to get into, Jerry, I want to tell a quick background story on Pat Morita, who played Mr. Miyagi. So, he was a stand-up comic in Hawaii before he became an actor,
He's on
and
Tap
the
Days.
guy, yeah. But apparently, the show or the runners of this movie of Karate Kid movie
Producers.
didn't want him. Yeah, producers didn't want him as Mr. Miyagi, but he convinced them, and he almost wasn't cast, so it could have been somebody else.
Yeah, because John Avildsen was pretty insistent about getting him. But anyways, let's get talking about exactly what Cobra Kai is. So Cobra Kai, Don Willie, do you want to do the recap synopsis, or do you want me to do it?
oh no, I'll take care of it. So yeah, Cobra Kai is basically uh a continuation of the Karate Kid story, but for the most part, this is told from the from the perspective of the guy that we know as one of the villains and the main antagonist to Daniel LaRusso in the first Karate Kid, and that being Johnny Lawrence. He was a pretty boy who knew the karate, who had the girl, lost the girl towards the beginning of the movie when Danny LaRusso uh, moves from New Jersey to California, and things kind of spiral out of control. And look, it winds up being a thing where Johnny and the other members of Cobra Kai bully Daniel, beat him up. Mr. Miyagi has to save him, and we already know how that turns out. So here we are, 30 plus years later.
34.
Yeah, 30 plus years later. And Daniel LaRusso is now a successful business owner, and Johnny Lawrence is the guy struggling to make ends meet. And along the way, he runs into some more problems, but these problems actually spur him to reopen the Cobra Kai dojo and to try to bring back the Cobra Kai name to prominence, and also help him to rebuild his life. Man, oh man. And I'll be honest with you, when I had first seen the trailers, I was like, okay, this shit is probably gonna be corny as all hell. And that was because of the way that the trailers actually presented it.
They presented it really more as a comedy more than anything. I thought it was going to be like Judd Apatow kind of comedy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it was one of those things where I was like, wow, I'm hoping they don't destroy this franchise with this. And I was
let's get this one thing right. It was funny though. There was a lot of moments that were funny. Johnny especially I thought was really the funny one. The fact that how he lives trapped in the 80s. He has a flip phone, and then he didn't even have the phone anymore. He doesn't text. He has an old CTR TV where he watches old 80s movies in his apartment.
he
Drives
doesn't
a
even know
Pontiac,
what Facebook is.
he doesn't know what Facebook is. He drives a Pontiac Firebird. What do y'all think about that? Like the way the presenting of Johnny the way he was, like how he's a man trapped in the 80s, trapped in an era.
I think that was completely awesome, and you know what? Even though he's down in his luck and he's struggling, he's still a cool motherfucker.
I mean, you know what? I've met people like that. It's rare. I mean, you don't meet like a bunch of people like that, but I have met people like that who are trapped in certain time periods, and it's like you kind of feel for them to a certain extent because you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, how have you not uh caught up with the times? How have you just not adjusted to anything past when you were, late teen or maybe your early 20s? Um, I mean, but listen, I think a lot of people, to a certain extent, want to live the best years that they've had, and they want to keep living them because maybe they think it's never going to get better than this time that I had when I was in this age. And unfortunately for Johnny, it was his, last couple of years of high school before Daniel LaRusso showed up.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's one thing I really like about this show. Even though it's like comedic, even though it's kind of, um, you know, at times campy, it's not that far from realism. Like, yeah, it's an exaggerated point of it, but it's not that far from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I
You
mean, like
know,
the
So
funny
speaking
thing.
of the next real character, how about we get into to Daniel and what he's been doing?
Well, listen, Daniel definitely has moved on from the past, at least to a certain extent, because he, even though he is married, he has kids, he has a successful business. Uh, he's still holding on to the bonsai tree thing, which he got from Miyagi. He tried to open a bonsai tree business, which didn't work out, but now he's using that as part of a gimmick to market his
Sales gimmick.
auto dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also he still, he sees Johnny Lawrence, and it brings him back to when he first moved from New Jersey. He was the scrawny kid that got beat up, and but the thing about it is, had it not been for his interactions with Johnny Lawrence, he might not be the successful man that he turned out to be. So it was interesting to see the juxtaposition and the dynamics between these two because
And they
they're
switched spots. Like, in Karate Kid, Johnny was from Encino. He was living in Encino Hills, and Daniel was living in Reseda. Now Johnny's living in Reseda, and Daniel's is living in Encino Hills.
yeah. So I mean, that's the another thing too, and it just kind of goes to show you like how things flipped for the two of them, and it's amazing how they were able to do it and make it feel organic. It didn't feel like something that was forced or something that it was like, all right, well, we have to do this in order for you to somehow uh, empathize with Johnny. Because I think even if you had given Johnny an arc where he was mildly successful, but maybe not as successful as Daniel, I think that you still could have felt for him. But I think that because of his upbringing with the stepfather who really didn't care for him, and then the sensei who basically almost ruined his life. I mean, you can see how he fell into this kind of trap to a certain extent.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like his stepfather. Like, even though Daniel was bullied, so was Johnny. Like, he was bullied by his stepfather, and we got to see how Johnny became how he was. Part of it was misunderstanding. Part of it was, he was bullied by his stepdad, and that he ended up going to karate and ended up getting more recognition there than he ever did at home.
you could see too that he's pinching his dollars because he's cooking bologna on a pan, like frying bologna, and that's usually what people do when they're really watching their dollars. And we know he loves Coors Light.
All right, so
He
let's get like
definitely loves
okay.
Coors Light.
This series could have easily have been just Daniel and see what's going on with Daniel and um, Johnny, and then they're have a showdown or whatever. But it did a lot more than that, and that is let's get talking about the kids in this show. First, we're introduced. The first kid we're introduced to is Miguel, who lives in the crappy apartments from where Johnny lives at, and he's kind of like a nosy kid and tries to really like go and try and become trained by him. He's picked on by the bully. He's very Daniel-ish from when Daniel was back in the day. Then we got the bullies. Then we got these other nerds, and then Daniel's kid. And I don't know. What did y'all think about their arc and their whole thing?
I mean, well, the thing that I really loved about the introduction of Miguel, and especially his interaction with Johnny, is here you have culture and generation class. Because you have Johnny who comes from a certain kind of background. He's the macho guy. He's the definition of 80s, right? And he really doesn't fit all that well into this world. And here you have Miguel who's telling him, like, hey, look, you really aren't supposed to be doing things the way that you're doing them, because people just don't do them like that anymore. And so they've found a way to have these two characters kind of intersect and come to a middle ground where
they make each other better.
Yeah, where Johnny sees, hey, you know what? Yeah, me uh coming along with the current climate in terms of the way that people think and the way that people act isn't such a bad thing. But then also Miguel is realizing, hey, you know what? Maybe the machismo thing also isn't such a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
LT? Did we lose LT?
No. So we're just getting into um, Miguel's introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
relationship with Johnny a little bit.
Well, I mean, I thought it was, he was just a kid that, doesn't have a male role model in his life, and he just was being, like you said, nosy and curious, and you could tell he took a liking to Johnny right away. I mean, he didn't even know him, and you could tell he just started talking to him, and I mean, we're not getting the
saw the good in him right away.
Yeah, and he was looking for that male role model in his life, and I mean, we see that he's gonna get it, but I like that first introduction.
Mm-hmm. What would you think about Miguel's character as he grew on?
I mean, oh wait, so just the beginning of this right here, or later in the show?
Let's just go to the kind of like once he starts training with him and stuff.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude, like it's like becoming I don't know, like finding himself and becoming more, finding what he could be, like at first he's um kind of like a nerd and a loser, but then he becomes more just better. Johnny makes him better,
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like you said, they make each other better.
Yeah. So what about so we're gonna start getting into so we know that that's basically the start of it. Johnny's trying to come up, find a student. They start up Cobra Kai together, and make each other better. And Daniel got his own thing going on with his family. Should we start getting into like the spoilers of the show?
Yeah, so let's run down the episode. So the first episode is called Ace Degenerate. So, again,
I think we covered the first two. I think we can just go probably to maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, well, so look, the first thing that happens is we see the end of the tournament where Johnny winds up losing to Daniel, and we pick up now where Johnny is living his life. He's a handyman of sorts, and he's going around to all these rich people's houses in the neighborhood where he used to live, and he is now cleaning their gutters and setting up their TVs and stuff. And finally, he comes to this one lady's house, and she calls him an idiot for putting the TV on the wrong wall opposite the wrong door. And he says, "Hey, look, I can get this done tomorrow. Can you please stop bitching at me?" And it turns into a thing that winds up getting him fired. Uh, Depressed, he goes to local strip mall where apparently I don't know if Cobra Kai actually used to be in that exact strip mall.
No.
Okay, well he goes to local strip mall.
Remember, it used to be across the street from that restaurant.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, he goes to the local strip mall. He gets a slice of pizza. He's sitting outside in front of his car, eating his pizza.
The gas station at that. Ugh.
Well, yeah, he's sitting there eating his pizza, and Miguel, apparently has foiled the plans of some of his schoolmates to buy some alcohol. They start beating him up, and at first, he wants nothing to do with anything. He's having a bad day, and he doesn't want any interaction with Miguel at all, who we met earlier during the day. Until finally, they throw him against his prized possession, his car. And once they start talking shit to him, and actually push him, which I don't know what makes any teenager thinks that it's a good idea to put your hands on a grown man. But they decide to do that, and he kicks all four of their asses. And before he is able to explain to the cops that no, I was actually saving this kid from getting jumped, the cops come, mace him, and throw him in jail.
Which is kind of funny, and it's kind of a little bit of like a irony, considering that Miyagi used to beat the shit out of kids all the time. And I guess it's also a little bit of a reflection of the time where you can get away with setting a kid straight in the 80s with a little bit of ass kicking if they need it, but today you can't do shit without getting arrested.
Oh yeah, that was probably the fakest part of this whole series. Like Johnny would have did some time, even though the kids, attacked him. I think if you beat up, like you said, you beat up kids, I think you're gonna do time.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, maybe who knows what Miguel might have told them on the side, and they might have had to drop the charges. So we'll see what happens with that one. Who knows? That might be something that actually comes up in season 2. Who knows? So I mean, like we'll let that go for right now. But
we see that those kids deserve that shit. They deserve to get their ass kicked.
Yeah,
but I think it's more of like I said, it's more of a reflection of the times. Like now you're getting like LT says, you're getting in some serious trouble. But back in the 80s, a bunch of punks are causing a bunch of crap like that, and you beat the crap out of them like Miyagi did. You might get a little bit of slap, but nothing like you would today.
Yeah. And so after this, Johnny is actually released from jail. He comes home, and we get the introduction to his stepfather, who apparently has been bailing Johnny out of jail over the past, 20 or 30 years from time to time. And he gives him a check. We don't know how much money it's for, but I'm imagining...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the amount. He gives him money.
Yeah, I'm imagining... I mean, look, he's able to open the dojo later, but I'm imagining it's for, probably... I'll say around 50,000. I would think.
That's a probably a fair ballpark number.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's like, look, I'm buying you out of my life. I promised to take care of you for your mom's sake, but your mom ain't here anymore, and you're just basically what the title of the episode is, an ace degenerate. So after all this, Johnny gets drunk again and decides to go for a ride. And while he's reminiscing on his ride, he stops in the parking lot. And as he is sitting there in his car, he gets rear-ended by a car full of teenage girls. He kind of goes off on them about them damaging his prized possession car, and finds out that when he gets his car towed, that they're gonna tow it to LaRusso Auto, the one place that he really does not want his car to be towed. So he shows up the next day trying to get his car taken to a different auto shop, and before he can have this done, he runs into his old nemesis, Daniel. Jerry, what do you got to say about this?
I was gonna actually say LT is wrong about the doing time would be the most unrealistic thing, beating up those kids. The most unrealistic thing is a car dealership having the best prices for body repair. That's the most unrealistic thing.
And I don't think, well, I guess you could say that since Daniel's, like, taking care of him, but I don't think there's no way in hell a dealership gives you a brand new. Was that a Charger or
Well, that's
the
later.
car that? Oh, okay, well, yeah.
First they repair.
Yeah.
I mean, well, listen, we saw the commercial earlier. Daniel is all about slashing prices, and that's kind of the thing that got him to go on the damn drive anyway, because he's sitting there at home watching, was it Iron Eagle?
Iron Eagle.
He's sitting at home watching Iron Eagle, and it comes to a very heartwarming part for him, and the next thing you know, bonsai. That's the thing that kind of depresses him and spurs him on his ride. But after all this, when he goes to the dealership and runs into Daniel, they have their nice little back and forth, and it's tense. It looked like they were about to start fighting right then and there, but Daniel was like, "Look, man, that was the past. We'll see what we can do about your car. We'll get it fixed, and it's on the house. Oh, but don't forget, take this bonsai tree with you." And he wants nothing to do with that, and then dumps it right in the middle of right in the middle of the damn lot. Which I'm like, man, I don't know, man. Johnny to me seemed to have like the biggest chip on his shoulder, and I don't know. We're gonna get into it later with part of the reason why, but it's like, dude, he's fixing your car, and he even told you, like, look, man, your car isn't worth what it costs to fix. I mean, look, just take the damn bonsai tree and let it go. You guys thoughts on his reaction to meeting Daniel again after all this time?
I mean, it was necessary for the show, but it's a little surprising and a little against what we saw at the end of Karate Kid 1, where he's like, "You're all right, LaRusso, good match." But, it's necessary for the show. If he had moved on, we wouldn't have a show.
Yeah, I guess.
Definitely.
All right. Oh, the other thing that happens during this is he recognizes Daniel's daughter as being the passenger in the back seat, and that's also one of the reasons why he wants to get the hell out of there, because he's like, damn it, not only did my car get wrecked, but it got wrecked by LaRusso's daughter. So after this, he goes home and he tells Miguel that he is going to be his sensei. He goes back, gets the check that he tore up from his stepdad, and decides to reopen the Cobra Kai dojo in a strip mall. That's where episode 1 ends, and it was kind of a proud moment.
The
Say,
series.
say again?
It was a good introduction to the series.
Yeah. That was definitely a good intro because for those of you who may never have seen Karate Kid before, I think it gives you enough background to at least to see where Johnny is coming from and partially where he was before his I guess spiral downward. I guess we can call it that, a spiral downward.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Episode number 2 is Strike First. So that one
That's
is the one.
basically Miguel, and then they start training together, and he has has to come up to he has to bring it up to code, so he gets Miguel to help him. Um, what's Daniel has a find out his daughter's hanging out with all the cool kids, and um, cause maybe a little rift between Daniel and his daughter because he doesn't know how to handle her doing teenage things. Um, they end up having one of the bullies come over for dinner. Um, you see Miguel becomes friends with the nerds guys, this guy Eli and this guy Dimitri. You see that Samantha's hanging out with the popular kids, and then we get a little bit of informing of that Johnny has a son named Robbie. We're not introduced to him yet, but we just told about him. And during the dinner with the bully, Daniel's able to figure out that from the kid's injury, basically browbeat him into finding out that someone beat him up, and he was able to deduce it was Johnny. And then he goes there and finds out that Cobra Kai is up and confronts Johnny. That's basically the gist of that episode.
Yeah, I mean, and he was like the first time that Daniel sees the logo for Cobra Kai in the strip
Mm-hmm.
mall, he's just like, "What the hell? No, no!" thinking
Mm-hmm.
about thinking about all of the torment that he went through as a teenager. Um, I mean, and it's funny though because yeah, look, I understand where Daniel was coming from. I mean, for one, uh, he taking his wife and his family out to this country club. They're having this grand old time. But remember, Daniel did not grow up rich. So for him, this is still kind of special, whereas his kids have grown up having money, and so it's not a special thing for them anymore. I mean, like his son Anthony is a jerk. He's like, yeah, got my PSP Vita. Hey, where the hell's my soda, Dad? I mean, like,
what episode was that where he threw the or he took the Vita from him and he was like, I'll just order another one.
I think that was like episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, listen, he look, if you came home to your kids having a pool party without your permission, I mean, your daughter's having a pool party or son, whoever, they had a pool party without your permission, and there's a bunch of kids with your swimming trunks on. Yeah, you know what? I'm kicking them out too. I don't care if
Oh,
the kids.
you know what it'd be like for me if I was the dad? Remember that episode of Fresh Prince where Uncle Phil comes in and he kicks everybody out and he smashes Carlton's what's it called, his inner tube thing, and he's like, no. And he's like, okay, Uncle, or okay, Phil. I mean, Will, if that's the way you want it. That'd be me.
Yeah, but the fact that he goes and confronts Johnny, that was kind of a crazy thing too, because he was like, yeah, you beat up some kids or whatever. But the thing about it though, Johnny makes a good point. He's like, look, I beat up some kids who were bullying someone else. And yeah,
it's surprising that Daniel's never able to relate to that, considering what he went through.
right. And not only that, well, remember, he's still thinking of Johnny And it's not even just Johnny; it's the Cobra Kai thing.
Okay. So let's get into that. That's one of the good things about this series. A lot of it is built on predefined notions, prejudice, and preconceived notions and prejudice, and that's kind of what blinds. And you see it from the beginning, right here. This is where you're first introduced that Daniel can't get past seeing Cobra Kai for what they were, and really kind of brings his prejudice in all his actions and what he does going forward, which is why he, immediately assumes Johnny was just going around beating up innocent kids and stuff like that.
Right. Oh, oh man, but it was kind of hilarious, and I'm not sure if this was supposed to be uh a thing or if it was just kind of coincidental. So Kyler happens to be Asian, and Daniel is like, "Hey, try this sushi," and Kyler's like, "Yeah, I don't really do fish." So
Yeah.
that seemed a little funny there because I'm like, was that Daniel's like normal thing, or was it the thing? It was
No, I
like,
think it
oh,
is his normal thing. Daniel's very even like if you look at his house, if you look at his dealership, he's very Japanese centric.
I mean, Mr. Miyagi was his mentor, and he probably,
That's exactly why. Yeah.
yeah, definitely, he probably got into sushi because Miyagi probably got it. And plus, remember, like we said in number 2, he went to Japan, and he probably started liking sushi there.
yeah. I mean, well,
So
he said he got the knife, in his first trip to Okinawa. So I mean, look, I get it, but it really, it was one of those things where I was sitting there like, which is this supposed to be? Like, I know what I think it's supposed to be, but it just seemed kind of weird that he's got the Asian kid there, and he's automatically like, hey, yeah, let's try this sushi. So I mean, I wasn't trying to read too much into it. I just thought it was kind of a hilarious thing.
I don't understand this. I mean, I don't know if you guys are big sushi eaters, but
I
for
love
me,
sushi.
okay, every time I've ever ate sushi, I feel like it's just a snack. I've never gotten full from just eating sushi ever.
Mm.
No, I don't think you're supposed to. I mean,
Supposed to
I
have
think you'd have to
sides
eat
with
a
it, like
lot of
salad,
sushi.
soup, yeah, maybe 2 rolls.
Yeah,
Anyway, so let's get to episode 3, which I'll kind of which kind of brings back one of the first things that we see a lot, and it has a major callback to the original Karate Kid, where they have a Halloween dance as they did in the first movie, and then this time kind of roles are a little bit flipped around. Johnny puts Miguel in the old skeleton outfit, but this time he's the one who gets his ass kicked at the Halloween party by the bullies. Also, Johnny goes around trying to recruit people because he needs money to, keep his dojo up and running. He goes around passing flyers, gets a little bit embarrassed by guys in the park. All the while, he's training Miguel a little bit in more karate. You see that there's a little bit of a friction going on between Daniel and his daughter because of him embarrassing her and him being worried about the Kyler guy, her boyfriend, the popular guy that's been beating up Miguel. Yeah, that pretty much covers that episode. What did y'all think of that? What did y'all think of the callback for one? What did y'all think of that as well?
I thought it was amazing because when the look on Daniel's face,
Oh yeah.
the look on Daniel's face when Miguel walks in with that costume on. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, it looks like he's seen a ghost, and he's just like, wait, if that costume is here, does that mean? And then runs into Johnny Lawrence, and he's just like, no, you can't, you can't be here, and you're promoting the Cobra Kai, and it's just like, oh man. But as soon as he sees his daughter with with Kyler, and And after seeing that message about I want to give you, you know, I want to give you something big, he's like, shit, yeah. Forget about Cobra Kai. I gotta go handle this. You know, can't have my daughter playing with some guy's big thing.
Yeah.
LT, what did you think about this episode?
Oh
man?
yeah, it was very nostalgic and cool to see Miguel dressed like Johnny. Am I echoing?
A little bit, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then yeah, I basically agree with everything you said. It was really cool to see him like that. He looked even as cool as Johnny, and not if cooler.
So yeah, I mean, that's I think y'all echo pretty much all I have to say about this one. Other than it was kind of cool, or it's kind of you really see that Johnny has a little bit of trouble knowing who to identify. He should be identifying kids, women that want to protect themselves. Instead, he's going for all the cool guys. He just gets mocked. Mocked by those guys in the park.
Oh wait, we gotta tell the name though, because the name was also pretty interesting. It was Esquelito, Spanish for skeleton. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to episode 4, which is
Cobra Kai never
Cobra
dies.
Kai never dies.
Was it in this episode or the episode before where Johnny wrote the dick on Daniel's billboard? It was okay.
Yeah, basically, you get a flashback of him taking Miguel back, and his mom's like, "Get out of here!" And he's like, "No, Cobra Kai never dies." And Johnny gets drunk and depressed about it. Right? Gets so angry, he's so angry he finds some spray paint and makes a big spray paints a penis on Daniel's billboard. We're also introduced to Johnny's son Robbie here, and we find out he's a bit of a misfit who goes around stealing things and not going to school and stuff. Also, Samantha, Daniel's daughter, starts noticing that Kyler isn't the guy she thinks she is. She catches him, bullying Miguel and Eli and Dimitri. And then we actually get a glimpse of what actually Samantha might be when they go to the movies. And Kyler tries to get a little bit of aggressive, and she just puts him in his place real quick, which is pretty cool. Which is a hint at something new. And then we see, I think Johnny tries to, talk with his. He tries to re-enter his son's life, but obviously because he's been an absentee father, he gets a lot of hostility, and basically things are left unresolved between him and his son. And
well, plus his son has been hanging around with someone named Molly, apparently.
Oh yeah, Molly's a drug.
That was absolutely hilarious. But what was also very hilarious is when he comes in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to think what he says to him, but dude was like, yo, what is that on your face?" And he's like, "Mustache." And later on, that guy winds up shaving the mustache after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, well, that was
at the end of the episode, though. Somehow he's through his son. He's able to figure out that Johnny's able to figure out that that he can get a second chance, but he instead of using it on his son, he takes it and tries to use it to convince Miguel's parents to start up Cobra Kai again. So, that was the end of that episode. My thoughts are really just move the plot. We're introduced to Robbie. I don't really have too much to say about it. Do you guys have to say that? Other than it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree with that.
Let's go to the next episode, which is Counterbalance, which is so Miguel starts just getting a little bit better at karate. I mean, we saw him starting to get a little bit better when he learned to kick and he was able to, throw a few moves down on Kyler, but he ended up getting his ass kicked because he didn't have quite enough karate yet. That's one thing I do like about this, actually. Um, Tell me if y'all agree with this, that you see Miguel learn in progressions. First he learns to fight a little bit. Like first you see him just getting beat up and stands no chance. Then you see him able to be taking a few moves, but he doesn't really know how to handle crowd control or do a lot of more of the advanced things. And then you start seeing him get better. I really enjoyed that. Whereas, Daniel, you just saw him train, and then all of a sudden he was Cobra Kai's level in the movie. The original Karate Kid.
Right. I mean, well,
Yeah,
the thing that they were able to do with this one, because it's a series, is kind of um show you that there's been some time. I mean, like the montages. I mean, because there's a montage almost every episode when Miguel is training. So we get to see that it's actually been almost a year by the time the All Valley tournament comes up. So that's something that I definitely like. Um, in terms of them showing his progression. First he's not able to do any push-ups, and then he's able to do push-ups. He's not able to punch well. Then he's able to really do punches. He's able to do the runs. He's able to kick. So I do definitely like that aspect of the show, and it shows that it's not just something that happened like one week he knew absolutely no karate, and then the next week he's kicking ass all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But
So I mean, but this is really, I think, where things start really picking up. His skills start reaching pretty high. Like on the side, Daniel is trying to find ways to shut down Cobra Kai. He manages to get his rent doubled by talking to Johnny's landlord. Um, we get a new student in Cobra Kai. What is her name? Aisha, which is Miguel which is Samantha's previous friend, but she's kind of left her behind to go hang out with the hot popular girls.
Let's mention what happens to Samantha, right?
Oh yeah, and then Kyler starts talking rumors about how she gave him a blowjob in the theater, just because I guess he must have been embarrassed when Samantha put him in his place with those karate moves she used on him.
And she experiences when he does those rumors, she
mm-hmm.
sees that it's like she feels like her friend that got bullied because her friend got bullied. Didn't her friend get bullied with they made her look like
That's right.
a
At the
pig?
Halloween party, they took a picture of her and posted it all over Instagram, saying that she's a pig attacking the buffet. That's
And
right.
Why,
And that's why she
won.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why she goes to join Cobra Kai, is what LT was saying. So she joins Cobra Kai. She's obviously an athlete. Well, not obviously, but well, actually kind of obviously because her dad's an athlete. But
Her
she turns
dad
out
plays for the Chargers, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
turns out to be a natural. And then she starts training with Cobra Kai. And then we get to probably the turning point of the whole series, and that is when Samantha gets fed up with Kyler talking crap about the blowjobs, and he still keeps going on talking crap, embarrassing her in front of everyone. Miguel decides he's going to step up for it because previously it's been shown that Miguel kind of like has a little bit of a faraway crush on this girl, but obviously because she's dating the popular guy, he hasn't done any moves or made anything. But he sees his chance to step up, and he tells him to shut up, and they basically get into a fight, and then all his friends get involved. But this time, Miguel has leveled up to over 9,000, and he just goes Super Saiyan on everyone, and just it looks like almost a Spider-Man movie the way he's moving around, kicking ass, hitting people, and just whoops like what is it, 4 or 5 guys' ass in the
Kicking
cafeteria.
ass and taking names.
Four guys.
Yeah, exactly.
4 guys.
4 guys' ass. Everyone records it on their smartphone, so he becomes kind of like a local hero, and when he tells Johnny this, Johnny's like super proud of him and gives him his old guy outfit. And
Sorry, I have to correct you.
what?
Gi.
Gi outfit. And then here's another thing. Everything is such a coincidence. It's almost like Martin does this too in Song of Ice and Fire. Everything is just right there, but they just miss. Like if Robbie you find out that Robbie was watching him the whole time while he was giving him the gi, and gets real jealous because he had come to try and make up with Johnny, but because of that he decides he wants to take some revenge. And if only he would have got there like 5 minutes earlier, maybe things would have been different. Which we'll end up seeing a lot of in this show as things really start to pick up after this episode. And then I think Daniel, goes to visit Miyagi's grave and asks for advice and figures he needs to go and get back into karate to get the balance back in life. And then we were left with, because of becoming a big YouTube star from his fight, people are wanting to learn to kick ass like Miguel and join the Cobra Kai, and that's where we left off there. This might have been one of the best episodes of the series. What did y'all think?
Everything. I agree. It was very good.
Yeah, I mean,
LT?
Huh?
Go ahead, LT.
Oh, the fight was epic. Yeah, looked like like we said, kicking ass and taking aims and teaching those bullies a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that happened in this episode is that Daniel starts to be rattled by Cobra Kai even existing. So it's one of those things where Daniel had everything going for him, and everything was cool, but now that it's like Cobra Kai is here, he's thinking that life is about to get really screwed up for him, and it's like, dude, seriously, like just let it be, man. Just let it be.
We'll get to that in a minute. If he sees the people who are actually joining Cobra Kai, he might have a different tune. But then again, there he goes again. But we'll get to that in a minute. Any more comments about this episode before we get to another big episode, Quiver? This is called Counterbalance.
Let's move on.
I wanted to say a couple of things. One, it was funny how Kyler was able to get practically the whole school to turn on Samantha so quickly. Like, Kyler has absolutely no proof that any of this happened. And, just by him spreading that rumor, I mean, Samantha basically starts getting harassed after this. And
but that's high school. That's pretty accurate for high school, though.
I mean,
especially a popular kid is telling that. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I mean, damn, that was ruthless. And my whole thing is, it's already apparent. It's apparent that Samantha knows karate. We don't know the extent, or how good she might be at this point.
We'll get into that when we're talking about season 2.
Right. But it's one of those things where it's like, damn, I don't know why she didn't kick his ass, personally. Because she probably could have.
Well, we saw her put him in his place at the movies. Real quick. So anyways, we get to episode 6. You see Daniel getting back into karate. Now Cobra Kai's got tons of students. Johnny doesn't really know how to handle it. He sees that all the people he's getting they're not the cool kids that he thought he'd be getting. They're all these guys that need improvement in life, and they're there to get improvement. But he takes it. He just makes fun of them, embarrasses them, calls them losers, calls them out for what they are, makes fun of this guy's lip.
Yeah, your favorite character, Jerry. What's his name again?
Oh, we'll get to him. we will get to him, the best character of the series. And then we get a little bit of a flashback of Johnny, which is what we mentioned earlier about how we saw his dad bullied him and how he ended up discovering Cobra Kai. So Johnny starts figuring out, okay, he needs to teach him to flip the script. That even though they're down now, they can flip this, like, because he wasn't doing that before. He wasn't showing them that. He was just like, you're losers. He wasn't saying that they could be more. He's like, yeah, you're losers now, but you know what? I'm gonna make you into something. Let's flip the script together. And yeah, he was one of the guys he was making us fun of. He kind of looked like a real nerdy version of the guy with that's from Homeland in the Band of Brothers. Had a real cleft lip, but he comes back and he's like, this is how you flip the script. He comes with like a mohawk, and Johnny's like, that's the way you do it. Hawk is your name. You're no longer Lip, which is the best. He turns out to be the best character. And then we find out that in order to get some revenge, Johnny's son Robbie is got a job at LaRusso's Auto because he knows how much Johnny hates Daniel. And then we also see a little bit of Miguel and Samantha starting to click together in science class. And I think it ends with Robbie working with them, and eventually Robbie gets in. They play a prank on him at, like, not Daniel, but some of his workers play a prank on him, and he almost quits. But then he starts feeling a little bit closer to Daniel, and then he starts going. He gets sent to Daniel's house to deliver something, and ends up starting to train with Daniel in karate. Which is kind of a weird thing, Another one of those that's one thing they do. They just set this up so well to where there's going to be conflict, but it makes sense for the direction they're going in. It makes sense for Robbie to go and learn under Daniel. And that's what starts here. So what did y'all think about this episode?
Well, yeah, we get introduced to the Hulk. Oh man, I mean, listen, it's funny how he gets made fun of, and at first, Miguel is like, dude, you can't, go around uh bullying us because we're coming to you so we don't get bullied anymore. Can you please stop treating us like these nerds and geeks, because like you don't know what it's like to be in our shoes. And we come to find out to a certain extent Johnny does. Maybe not so much from the outside world, but he got it at home, from his stepfather. His stepfather didn't believe that he would make anything of himself. And, it seemed like his stepfather took many opportunities to put him down. So, to see him realize, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong for doing that. Was a good thing for the character, but then also the fact that him being tough inspired this one kid to change uh you know a lot of things about him, a couple of things about him on the surface level, but those things that he changed gave him more confidence to be able to move forward. So I thought that was great, great writing.
Mm-hmm. So let's get to then. Or what do you have to say about it, LP?
I was gonna say that first of all, his father or stepdad must have did a good job because Johnny turned out to be one of the coolest kids, in the city. And he mentions, okay, so yeah, Johnny lost to Daniel in the first Karate Kid movie, but you know what? He was two-time defending champion. He won back to back before he lost to Daniel, so he would have three-peated if he would have lost to Daniel. So I don't think his stepdad bullying him was really that bad. Um, And then one thing I want to
I think the
mention
reason
that
he did all that was to escape his stepdad.
no, I know, but I'm just saying, you gotta thank the stepdad, or else he probably would never gotten karate. I mean, he teared him down, but it worked. You know, um, but one thing I wanted to mention that was earlier when he starts teaching these kids when they walk in, I just find it so funny when he's like, "Quiet!" I just find that so funny.
Yeah, he does that a couple of times throughout the series, and it's absolutely hilarious. Like when he does that
Yeah.
to the landlord and the guy at the convenience store. That is absolutely, they're arguing. He just walks. He's like, "Quiet! I'm trying to run a dojo next door."
Yep.
So yeah, man, that was pretty cool. I wish they actually would have kept it up more, but I guess they didn't really. Yeah, he really didn't need it after a while.
No, I mean they started getting disciplined after a while, which is what happens next one. He's training all his students. Things are going well. I think this next one's called All Valley, and basically they find out that they're banned from the All Valley tournament, and Johnny has to go and plead the case. And we get a mention of Terry Silver when he goes to the meeting. But yeah, he goes to try and plead the case to get them unbanned because of what they were banned for what happened in Karate Kid 3 with Terry Silver and Mike Barnes. And then so he tries to get that undone. All the while, Miguel decides to finally start making the moves on Samantha, and they go out on their date. And another callback. We go to golf and stuff.
But not only do we go to golf and stuff, we get one of the classic songs from the soundtrack, Young Hearts. Oh man. Yeah, I was actually surprised that they threw that in there, but that was cool. And
Well, that was pretty awesome. I know LT loved it.
And it was also very
Yeah.
reminiscent of the date that Daniel and Allie had there.
Mhm.
Except one big twist, towards the end of the date, when Miguel he has no idea about Samantha's background at all. So he's trying to show her some karate moves, and the next thing you know, she flips him and throws him on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the funny thing though too with that whole thing is like when Miguel actually asks her out and she says yes, he's like, "Oh yeah, pick me up," such and such, and he's like, "Yeah. Oh, wait, I got a bike." She's like, "All right, fine, and I'll come and pick you up." Oh, I mean, hey, this is 2018, men and women are equal. She can pick him up. It's cool.
I've had that happen to me before. But anyways,
Hey, in the original, I can't remember because I haven't seen it in a while. Didn't they pick her up in the station wagon with the mom?
yeah, his mom drove.
Yeah.
It.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, well, they talk about that how Daniel's mom used to drive him on dates. I remember the wife was like, "Yeah, well, how'd that work out?"
Yeah. So, anyways, so the episode finishes off with things are all going up for Cobra Kai. They get unbanned. Miguel with Samantha's working out, and even on the other side with Daniel training Robbie. Robbie starts really learning karate. We do get one of the silly moments where they try a little too hard to recreate, where Daniel has Daniel has Robbie doing all this labors and works, and then he was secretly creating him karate like how Miyagi did. I thought it was kind of silly the way Robbie got mad. Like, "Hey, all I've been doing is your chores." I'm like, well, isn't that what he was hired to do?
I mean, well, but you know what though? It's the same thing like with Daniel, because Daniel, he's telling him, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna teach you how to do karate," and he's like, "Okay, wax on, do it like this, do it like that." He's like,
but
okay.
Daniel wasn't getting paid though.
No, I I get that part, but I'm guessing, like there's a line of dialogue that they left out, which is, yeah, while you're here, you're gonna learn karate while you're doing all this stuff with the cars. So that was the thing that we didn't get was, yeah, no. You're gonna learn karate while you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason why he probably snapped on him. Just like, dude, you told me I was going to learn karate, and all I'm doing is waxing the damn cars.
I mean, I thought it was a cheesy moment. I mean, but it wasn't a deal breaker. What did you think, LT?
I thought it was honest. To be honest, I thought it was cheesy, but it works.
Um.
Yeah.
Now.
And then he ends up learning karate and ends up getting a fight with his former friends trying to rip off Daniel's shop and uses some karate to fend off.
You know what's the funny thing though? I gotta admit, it was a genius move for him to use the phone. Like if he was still gonna be riding dirty, it was an absolutely genius move to say, "Oh yeah, I'm taking the pictures for the insurance adjuster, so they don't have to come out here. I'm just gonna email them the pictures," and then he winds up recording Amanda putting in the code. Because remember, he was like, "Look, I don't have the code to security codes. I don't even have the code to the bathroom yet. You guys are talking about, yeah, give me give us the code so we can break in and steal a bunch of auto parts." So, uh, you know, genius criminal move that somebody stupid is gonna wind up trying to use after seeing this. Hopefully not.
Mm,
But
yeah.
I mean, look, he was about to actually really get his ass kicked. I mean, he held those two guys off. He was about to get his ass kicked, and then he's like, no, you guys are on camera. So that was pretty interesting there, and great way to end the episode, and also to show um Robbie's um Robbie's progression, because you can tell Robbie doesn't necessarily want to be a bad guy. That's not really what he's about. He's not about, just being the bad guy for being the sake of being a bad guy. But, I thought that was good. Any more thoughts on this one, or going on to the next?
Let's go on to. Oh, you go for it, LT.
It's just sad throughout this whole series because it's like if Robbie and Daniel knew what Johnny was doing or really doing, they would think different from him. But obviously they don't. And so it's just, to me, it's just sad, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Episode 8.
Episode 8. So we get
Molting.
Yeah. So we get pretty much more training. I think Daniel goes off in the woods with Robbie to learn more karate. Is this the one where Daniel's mom comes back? I think this is.
Did we miss the episode where? Is this the same episode where Johnny and Daniel hang out in the test ride?
That's the next
no?
episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, number 9.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think
I think this is it, because this is when Miguel and Samantha start dating, and she's kind of worried about him being in Cobra Kai, what her dad thinks, and then we get we get a return actress, Daniel's mom from the original one, actually makes an appearance here, comes back. They start talking about how Cobra Kai was so terrible and how anyone associated with Cobra Kai is terrible. Which really, again, goes to show, right? Like, if they really knew the kind of guys that were at Cobra Kai, they wouldn't be saying this, but they're, going with their prejudice. And it also really speaks to, like, yeah, if you're in charge of kids or you're a parent of kids, you really got to watch what you say, because kids do absorb what you say and what prejudice you do. I mean, Don Willie, I know you probably could say you probably agree with this pretty well. You know, prejudice isn't born with this; it's taught. You're taught to be like
Right. And I
judgmental
mean,
and stuff.
we see that fully with
With Daniel,
Daniel telling Samantha, "Yeah, listen, you can't trust those guys from Cobra Kai. They're all bad people." And she's like, "Look, I know some of the people there, and I don't think just because they joined Cobra Kai they're bad." And she's like, "Nope. If they joined Cobra Kai, they've already went to the dark side. They're practically out there slaughtering younglings as we speak."
yeah, yeah,
But
pretty much. So
yeah,
so that's where we got a little bit of a split between um, Miguel and Samantha, despite Miguel trying to be a real swell guy. Um, Johnny finds out that he's dating Daniel's sister and he gives his side of the story of how Daniel ended up taking Allie from him and warns. He kind of warns Miguel to watch out with the LaRusso because that might have what happened to him might happen to him. What happened to him might happen to Miguel. Let's see what else.
it's funny though because that whole sequence reminds me of a YouTube video about how Daniel was the actual bully in Karate Kid. So it's funny. Like I don't know if they watched that and
Oh, they
decided to
definitely
write
watched
that
that.
in, but yeah, it was one of those things where if you think about it to a certain extent, Johnny's not wrong. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Daniel did
I
punch
mean,
him.
he is a little bit. He leaves out some details. He pulls a kind of a Preston Jacobs and leaves out some details, like when he's recounting the fight between them. He leaves out that he roundhouse kicked him before Miguel sucker punched him. Hey, not Miguel. Before Daniel sucker punched him. He leaves out things like that. But yeah, that's kind of normal. Like people's memories work like that. So I found that very believable.
I mean, well, then listen. He didn't lie about the thing where he was minding his business and Daniel comes and sprays him with the water hose.
Oh yeah, that's true.
No. Now he also did leave out the fact that he pushed Daniel down the side of a damn uh hill,
Exactly.
off of his bike, and then proceeded to kick his ass afterwards.
Hmm.
You know, but Johnny wasn't totally in the wrong.
Yeah.
It, he,
A lot of just miscommunication is really what this is all about. And I think LT's been saying it over, like if only they knew.
but
LT, what were your thoughts on the whole prejudice thing, and also how Johnny's his version of how things went down in the original Karate Kid?
Yeah, just like you guys said, to he's right to a certain extent. Um, yeah, the prejudice thing, like definitely um, you're not born like that. You're made like that. Definitely agree there. Um, but yeah, I just I love it, man.
And then the episode ends with Louis, Louis Jr. Because remember there was Uncle Louis before, and that's uh, now they have a Louis who's the one who played the prank on Robbie and caused a lot of mess. Well, now apparently he wants to go send a message to Johnny by destroying his car. He hires a bunch of bikers to go destroy his car. Johnny finds out and he's like, "What the hell?" Oh, actually, first Johnny is in the middle of writing a letter to Robbie to try and reconcile with them because he doesn't do text. Is what he said. So he's writing a letter and he's interrupted in that by Louis destroying his car, saying, "This is a message from Daniel LaRusso," and he we see Johnny ends up beating up the bikers and taking their bikes, and then goes to head off and to confront Daniel, and that's the end of the episode. So again, more misunderstanding, more Louis acting a fool. It's a shame that Johnny wasn't able to finish that letter. I know LT, you wanted to see him finish that letter and reconcile, but
and
I think
whatever.
that's
Is it me
Mm-hmm.
or did Louis get off lightly with that one? Because the two
Oh, he got
bikers,
off lightly.
the two bikers definitely got their asses kicked. And Louis, the most that happened to him was uh Johnny kicked the bat out of his hand. He basically just disarmed him and hammered him up and was like, "Hey, where does Daniel LaRusso live?" And then after he saw the car on fire, it's like, dude, like he had a look on his face like, if you don't tell me where your cousin lives, you are going to be in the fire with my car.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised that Daniel never taught Louis karate.
Probably never wanted to learn. Remember, Daniel was trying to team up with people at work for karate, and they were all, none of them were interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they all kept
Louis
on
just
saying
a,
no.
I think there's a line that Jerry has when we play Friday when people don't play by rules and are annoying and he calls them. I think Jerry would call that about Louis.
Mm-hmm. Louis is a sack of shit. But anyway, so again, so what did you think about the whole missing communication again, LT? Like, if Louis would have just waited 30 minutes, he would have finished that letter and sent it to Robbie.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's all timing and it's unfortunate and tragic and you know um sad.
Yeah. So let's go on to episode 9, different but same. As we all know, that's what Miyagi said about Daniel and Allie. Um, so basically, it starts up where it left off with Johnny arriving and confronting Daniel about the car.
At
It looks
his
like they're
house.
about to fight. Yeah, at his house. But Daniel's wife, calms him down and invite Daniel. I'll get into Daniel's wife when we wrap things up. But I have kind of some things to say about her. Anyways, they kind of like talk it out, and they figure out that it was Louis doing it on his own. So Daniel goes and gives him a car, gives him a Challenger, like a used Challenger.
Well,
And then
listen, not because he wanted to though. Remember, his wife was
his
like,
wife talked him into it.
yeah, his wife was kind of like, look, Louis came, screwed this whole thing up, kind of had the dude out of your life. You didn't even have to think about him anymore. You fixed his car, and now here comes Louis destroying the damn car. And
And then Johnny also outs the daughter crashing into his car in the first place.
You
right,
know, I loved um Daniel's wife in this scene. I thought this was awesome because they could end up fighting here, and she stopped it. And I thought this was her highlight of the whole season right here.
I think Daniel. I'll just talk about her. Daniel's wife just gets it. She knows that diffuses every situation. She knows not to be judgmental. She knows not to, like, if she was more in charge of things, none of the bad things would happen. She gets it. She gets how these teenagers think. She gets what Daniel's going crazy. She just gets it. That's the best thing I could say about her. She gets it. I think the wife is one of the better characters in the show.
What did she I can't remember. Did she offer them to have lunch or what was it?
She makes him
breakfast.
breakfast.
That's right, yeah.
But the funny thing, though, man, speaking of that whole instance with breakfast, while Daniel and Amanda are sitting there talking, arguing about whether or not to give Johnny a car, the son Anthony comes in and he's like, "Yeah, my dad, would have kicked your ass," and he was like, "I would have kicked his ass." He was like, "Yo, I'll tell him." He's like, "Yo, yeah, I want him to know." And he's like, "You guys got any ketchup?" He was like, "Yeah, get it yourself, douchebag." And he's like, "Yeah, whatever, dick." I love like the little things because it's not just whatever the dialogue thing is. You like the thing that I really liked about this show was that they have like those little character interactions between that's like just outside the main part of the scene, whereas just regular stuff that people would say to each other in certain moments was just like, yeah, like earlier when they're at the country club where Daniel is trying to talk the guy into, well, he's baiting the guy to raise the rent. You see Daniel's son and the
Oh yeah, they're talking
Armin's.
about his
Yeah,
father could use better. Kind
yeah.
of
He was
thing.
like, "Oh, my dad owns real estate. My dad owns cars." It's like, "Oh, well." What did he say? Like my dad is like has more money or something. He was like, my dad can kick your dad's ass. So,
Mm.
you know, and that's stuff that happens. So that I like that they added those little bits in between. Just the little side interactions. So it's not just what's happening with the two main characters in the scene. So that was a great writing choice and great the fact that they decided to edit those little bits in.
Agree
After this,
100%.
after the breathtaking scene is the scene where they go and test drive, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and uh, Johnny's looking for a car. Finally, comes up on the Dodge Challenger and corrects Daniel about what kind of how many liters the engine is. And at first, Daniel's like, "Oh yeah, can we get Robbie to get him a test drive?" And it's like, "Nope, Robbie's day off." It's like, "Oh, I can get Louis." He was like, "No, Louis is never to come around here ever again." So guess Louis fired. But
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this is one another. These two scenes here are two of my favorite. Like when they're in the car and Ario Speedwagon comes on, and they're like, "You like Speedwagon?" It's like, "Yeah, yeah." They both like it, you know. And and then when they go to the bar, I was dying when he finally got him to drink, and he was like, "Get the lady whatever she wants."
no, he
I like
said get
that.
her a Shirley Temple. I'm like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
And he was like, no,
And
club soda will be fine.
I like the bonding between Daniel and Daniel and Johnny, because it shows just, yeah, that with the communication, you can overcome these. That's all you need to do to overcome these prejudices, and is just communicate. Um, and then we also get a glimpse of the old Riverside apartments that Daniel used to live in, which actually might be the one continuity breaker, because if you remember in Karate Kid Part 3, those homes were being demolished, and that's why he had to go live with Miyagi.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Who knows? Maybe they rebuilt it.
Maybe they rebuilt it. But anyway, let's get to the party then. So the popular girls are playing the party, but and they figure they think they got copyright on the lake, but Cobra Kai is like, they don't got copyright. Let's go make our own party there. So Cobra Kai goes and makes their own party there first. They invite everyone to come out and hang out. We find the bullies come up, and they're like, we better bounce. One of them's like gets enthralled by Hawk because he slipped the script so much. We see things have just kind of turned around. Like things are starting to turn around. Miguel, being starting to feel insecure about her being so Samantha being so apprehensive about Cobra Kai. We find out that Samantha gets grounded because Johnny ratted her out for crashing into the car, so she's not able to respond to Miguel's text. When she finally does get there, she comes with Robbie, because Robbie helped kind of get her out of the house, like sneak out of the house. And Miguel being drunk and hearing stories about how Johnny lost Ali to Daniel, starts flipping and confronts Robbie, thinking that he might be getting played, and accidentally hits Samantha and causes a big what do you call
Brouhaha, I guess.
it? Ooh ha ha! Yeah. They're there, and she drives off. She's like, "You're terrible. Your Cobra Kai's all bad." And then so um, when Johnny and Daniel get back from their little bonding trip, that's when they find out that Robbie's there, and the truth comes out. And Daniel feels hurt that Robbie lied to him. Uh, Johnny feels betrayed that they were like plotting something or whatnot. And yeah, so Any thoughts about that episode other than being a great one and just a lot of miscommunication, showing what communication could do, how not communicating messes things up?
I
Any
mean,
thoughts?
well, yeah. I mean, for one, you definitely got to think about the fact that Miguel has said to Samantha a few times like that he wanted to come by and meet the parents, and she was kind of apprehensive about that. So you got to think about it. You know, he's on the strike first mentality, so he's just like, well, Hawk is the one that's like, hey, just show up at the house. So when he shows up, what does he see? He sees his girlfriend with some guy. He has absolutely no idea that that's his sensei's son. She's having a good time with him, and he's just like, the hell, I can't get an invite to the house, but she's with some dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, so like, not that I, not that I don't blame him, but I don't blame him to a certain extent. His
Agreed.
Yeah, his reaction. I mean, listen, obviously he overreacted by trying to start a fight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, but when you think about what his sensei had told him earlier, it's like, oh well, shit, man, this is the same thing that happened to him. I'm not gonna let that happen to me too. You know, and then when she's like, oh yeah, my dad was right about you people from Cobra Kai, it's like, oh damn, damn.
Yeah, that was a dagger there. What do you think, LT?
It's all that little punk Robbie's fault. None of this stuff would happen if he wouldn't have been there at the party. And it's a misunderstanding. And you know what? Cut Miguel a break. It's a kid that drunk for the first time, and that's. I think she's a little hard on him because it was a misunderstanding and it was an accident. And she was being a little what's that word? To me when she overreacted. It wasn't. It was okay. It was his fault, but kind of not. So I blame that little punk Robbie's fault.
I mean, well,
It was
nah,
his
look,
fault, but it was. I understand his frustration, but he overreacted. But I can see how his mind got there.
right, and
No,
and
he did
plus you
overreact,
gotta,
but
I mean, no, but you gotta think about it like this too. Look, if it wasn't for Robbie, she wouldn't have even got out the house.
Yeah,
nah.
Remember, she was grounded. She wasn't supposed to be going anywhere. She couldn't answer any Miguel's voicemails or text. So Robbie did get her out there. But now mind you, Robbie, was hoping to try to get with Samantha. Let's be honest,
Yeah,
because, you
it
know,
looked like that. Like it was never explicitly said, but he would give the looks.
I mean, look, when she's like, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend is waiting for me at the party," he was like,
You tell by
"Oh
his body language.
yeah," and plus he was like, "Oh yeah, well let's go see what he's doing." you know, so
All right, so
I mean, it is what it is when it comes to that. But this, when we get to the part where Robbie is inside the house and Daniel and Johnny walk in, and Johnny is like, "Yo, what the hell?" Now, at this point, Johnny thinks that he's being played, and then Daniel thinks that he's being played. And really, if you think about it, though, right? Daniel shouldn't have really been mad at Robbie, because whether or not he told him like that's my pops, like how, first off, he doesn't know what kind of relationship that
yeah,
that Daniel, I mean that uh Robbie and Johnny have, right?
mhm.
So it's one of those things where it's like, look, you're learning. He came and he's learning karate from you instead of learning it from his pops. But I can understand where Daniel was coming from because of Karate Kid Part 3.
Yeah.
hey, I blame Robbie for turning Miguel to the dark side because if we see in the next episode how Miguel starts acting, he's not the same Miguel. He's more Cobra Kai from the original movie. So I blame Robbie.
Let's get to this next episode,
Yeah,
Mercy. And
Hersey.
so we get to the All Valley tournament, and we're starting out with they're wondering if Johnny's even going to show because he was always drunk. So the Cobra Kai kids were like, "What's going on?" They show up with their gis and they're like, "Well, let's go." And then Johnny shows up last minute. He's like, "No, I got some special gis for you." And they bust out the old black Cobra Kai, and we find out that Robbie's also. I don't know how he got in. I don't know how they allowed him in because he was unaffiliated. He had no one to say he was a black belt or anything. If you remember from the first film, you have to be at least a brown belt. Anyway, so Cobra Kai, Robbie does really well. Cobra Kai generally does pretty well. Aisha gets to the quarterfinals, and then she loses to the hippie guy. And it shows some bad attitude, some bad sportsmanship too, which is kind of weird. What?
Well,
what
you know
about
what?
The kid that wins? Sorry, the kid that wins, and then he's all like about peace and stuff, and then
that's what I'm
like,
talking about. The hippie guy.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
And
you know
then
what's crazy? What was crazy?
What?
Like when they're doing the introductions, and dude comes and does like the backflip in the air and all that. I'm just like,
it's pretty cool.
I'm like, wow, they got some real martial artists for this, and I have to commend them that not only did they get people who were pretty decent actors, but the martial arts is still pretty good too, because you can definitely see that there weren't a bunch of stunt doubles, and that was the thing that I really liked about it too. It was like, there weren't a whole bunch of cutaways to like other people. You could tell it was like, oh yeah, that's not that actor. So um I'm really glad that they got people who can actually do martial arts for real and were pretty good actors.
Yeah, I do like also this that Johnny's like when she loses, he's not like Kreese. He's like he's like, hey, good job, you did a really good job. But she had a bad attitude. She
I mean,
walked
but you
off.
know what though? I think look, there's two things. One, you know, if you remember Johnny's speech at the beginning, he talks about the fact that the world will have no
Oh
mercy
yeah.
on you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of
That
one
was
of
a
those
great
things
speech,
where
actually.
they've
It
been
was a
in.
great, hilarious speech.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've been indoctrinated into the Cobra Kai mentality, but then
Mm-hmm.
also, look, she's come from a time where she was being bullied, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like here is, I guess, for her maybe the one chance to really show like I'm not just the overweight chick that's getting bullied by people. And it's like, for her to lose or and especially to be like really the only one that loses, and to lose to the peace and love, and let's have a moment of silence for no intolerance and all that. It's like, no, I don't want to lose to him. you
Yeah.
know
So Miguel makes it. Okay. So Miguel makes it to the semifinals. We see him actually do the crane kick to start off. Hawk also advances to the semifinals. He has a good showing. He's beating everyone down and rips his shirt off, shows his Hawk tattoo, which is kind of funny that like all that girl's like, oh, he's so hot, and he's like that Dimitri guy's, that's all it takes, huh? And
Well, no, at first he's like, no, his name is Moskowitz, not Hawk.
yeah, that's right. And then and then Robbie also makes it to the semifinals by doing really well. So we get Robbie's unaffiliated. The LaRussos are throwing a big old fit because Samantha's mad that Miguel accidentally hit her. Daniel's mad because Robbie lied to him. And it really takes, again, I said, Daniel's wife gets it. She's like, look, he's a kid. Kid makes mistakes. So she's the one who convinces Daniel to stand in Robbie's side. Robbie takes on Hawk. They have a little bit of like kind of a flashback, kind of like a callback, I should say, where Hawk kind of takes on the role of both the Bobby Brown and Tommy characters, where he He's got a big mouth, but he also injures Robbie during the fight and gets disqualified. Miguel takes out the hippie guy, so it's gonna be Robbie and Miguel in the finals. But Robbie's hurt, like Daniel was hurt in the last one, so Daniel goes to see him. They have a speech about like things, which makes me wonder because Daniel's speech is still a little bit off because he doesn't know the whole story. If he knew the whole story, he would realize some of it's his fault. But I guess that makes sense. We get a little bit of a callback where Daniel's like, "Well, we'll see about that," and he's like, "Medic." So you think he's gonna do the Miyagi healing, but no, he just does the medic. Miguel goes against Robbie. Johnny actually tries to get him to do the opposite of what Kreese was preaching, and he tried to say, "Hey, just beat him fairly." But Miguel is able to exploit Robbie's injury and get the win against Robbie and become the champion. Daniel takes Robbie out, or Johnny tries to say he's sorry, but Robbie doesn't want to listen to it because he's kind of as LT says, kind of a punk. He goes with Daniel. Daniel takes on the role of the father figure, drives him away, and then you find out that Daniel's going to plan on opening Miyagi Dojo. They go to Miyagi's old house, and it's like, all right, let's get set up here. And that's the end of them. Johnny takes his trophy, and he gets to go back to Cobra Kai. And we see a figure in the shadows smoking a cigar, saying, "I knew you had it in you, boy. I knew you could win." And then it reveals to be John Kreese, back from the dead. And that's the end of Cobra Kai Season 1.
And also who apparently hasn't aged much in the past 30-something years.
Dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I mean, like, he doesn't look as old as you would think he might look, because you got to figure he had to be in his mid 40s, when we saw, or maybe mid 30s. I don't know, but he didn't look as old as I thought he would look.
Well, okay, so Rob Macho's in his 50s, so I'm assuming he's in his 60s.
Rob Macho's 54. Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, listen,
so what did y'all think of how they did the tournament here?
I thought the tournament was great. I wasn't sure if they were going to have Cobra Kai win this one.
I thought they had to have Cobra Kai win. It would have been too predictable for Robbie to have won it.
I mean, look, Robbie.
I don't really like Robbie, so.
Robbie doing the double kick, was definitely. I mean, it was already set up. When they showed him with the whole skateboard thing and balancing in one hand, they already set that up. That was still pretty awesome to see him do it. Hawk, I don't know what the hell happened with him, but he just went out of control. Especially him getting himself disqualified, and the thing that kind of shocked me was Daniel saw Johnny reprimanding his students about when they were doing stuff, like he reprimanded him like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" And Daniel still has it in his mind like, "Yeah, Johnny's just the bad guy," and at the end when. No, but at the end when Miguel wins, he goes up to him and is like, look, I'm sorry, I didn't want it to be like this. And then Daniel still has to kind of get the jab on him, just like, yeah, well, you got what you wanted. Just like, come on, man, don't be like.
Yeah. What'd you think, LT?
Yeah, like I said, that punk Robbie turned Miguel into the dark side, turned him into an evil Sith, and it pissed me off because I really liked the relationship between the daughter and Miguel, and it all comes to Robbie. And you know what? If Miguel's gonna stay like the villain, like this looking, I hope he bullies Robbie next season and makes him pay. That's what I hope.
You don't like Robbie. I don't really care for. What are your thoughts on Robbie?
Look, man, I think that he realizes. I mean, because look, Johnny already told him you don't have to go down the road that I did. Um, Daniel told him you don't have to go down the road that I did. And I think that Robbie is starting to see that. And, I mean, obviously, Robbie is not going to be the next Daniel San. But I don't think that Robbie is a bad kid. I mean, look, he had some tough breaks, and I think he's just a kid trying to get his life together. He could have been a lot worse. So I say give him credit for at least trying.
Let's see. Well, so let's get to our. I mean, it's obviously we like the show, but let's get to what we think is going to happen in season 2. What do y'all predict is coming?
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. I think that John Kreese doesn't stay around for long.
Oh, I disagree. I have a theory about what's going to happen. You want to hear mine first, or you want to go first, LT?
Now you go first.
So what I think is going to happen, because there's already been talk that Mike Barnes is in. He's going to be coming back. But I think Kreese is going to bring back Mike Barnes. I think they're going to try and get Terry Silver to come back, but he might, I don't know if the actor wants to act again. I think he's retired from acting. But I think their goal is to bring Mike Barnes and Terry Silver back for season 2 and kind of take over Cobra Kai from Johnny, which is what I think is going to happen. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to have 3 different dojos. Johnny's going to eventually, he's going to kind of it's going to take a while, but eventually he's going to branch off and create his own version of Cobra Kai, his own. He'll call it something. He might call it something different, but Kreese and Barnes will take over Cobra Kai, and the kids will be split into different ways. Obviously we saw Samantha doing some crazy moves. She's out, there was hinted by Aisha that another girl needs to come, so she's obviously going to join Miyagi Dojo. I think Aisha eventually maybe joins Miyagi Dojo with her and Robbie. Miguel and Hawk, those guys are Cobra Kai, but I think eventually Miguel is gonna break off and join Johnny on his, or maybe even Aisha might stay with Johnny. We'll see. But Hawk is gonna be total Cobra Kai. He's gonna be under Barnes and them, and I think that's what we have in season 2. What do y'all think?
LT, it's on you.
I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. I disagree. I don't think they're gonna take Cobra Kai from Johnny. I think they're gonna try and influence Johnny, but Johnny's not gonna have it. But I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
What do you want to see the most, LT?
What I want to see is Terry Silver come back and influence the kids again and make Robbie pay. That's what I want to see.
LT really wants Robbie to pay for whatever reason. Look, you know
He's
what?
not a bad kid. He's not a bad kid, but it's a misunderstanding, and everything's his fault.
I don't know. Like I said, I think that Kreese isn't going to be around for too long because Johnny doesn't want to lose the Cobra Kai that he's trying to build. We're obviously going to see a clash between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, and I don't know. I want to see
Miyagi-Do, Don Willie.
Say again.
Who's going to be in Miyagi-Do? Who the students going to be?
Obviously Samantha. And
I think it's hinted that she's probably the best karate person.
Right. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen. I think at the end of season 2, they're all gonna wind up. It's either they're gonna be a bigger chasm between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, or they're gonna wind up somehow being friends.
Mm-hmm.
But listen,
I'm excited to see it. What do you want to see the most, Don Willie?
I want to see the fight between Johnny and Daniel.
Yeah, I like how they mentioned Rocky 3 several times, and they're like, "Yeah, let's have a fight like Rocky 3." It's a good callback, but Yeah, I think, guys, any final thoughts? I mean, y'all want to give any ratings? I already gave mine before we wrap this video up.
You know what? I'm gonna say a 9.5 for the series. You know, um, like I said, loved the way like this is how I think you, if you're going to move a franchise forward and introduce new characters and still have respect for the original characters and the source material, this is how you do it. So, you know,
Couldn't agree more.
9.5 for the series for me. LT?
Couldn't agree more.
I give it a 10, and I give it. I'll when it comes back, I'll subscribe to YouTube Red. This time I use my free trial, but when it comes back, I'll subscribe just until it's I watch it.
All right, all right. Well, gentlemen, uh, listen, guys, thank you for doing this, and we've been planning this for a while. Thank you to everybody in the chat who checked us out. If you have not checked out Cobra Kai, do yourself that favor. Um, yeah, it's on YouTube Red. You get the first month free. It's 10 episodes. The episodes are only like a half hour each. Binge watch the hell out of those, and then come back and check this out and let us know what you thought about Cobra Kai for all those who haven't watched it yet. So, yeah, thank you to everyone in the chat who was joined us tonight. Thank you to everyone who will watch this later. We will be back tomorrow for our reread series as normal. So 1 p.m. Eastern, and we are doing Theon 6, A Clash of Kings. It's James's chapter, because goddamn it, James needed a win. All right? So, with that being said, my name is Don Willie. We got LT and Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat. And yeah, you already know what it is. Cobra Kai never dies, and we will see you next time. Hype Swatch.
And rule number 1: if a man can't stand, he can't fight.
For real. We are out.
Man can't see, can't fight. Man can't breathe, can't fight.
Yeah, I hope they're able to bring back Terry Silver.
Yeah.
All right.